All right, welcome back. So as you've seen there, Aliyu Audu joins us next. He's the special special assistant to the president on public affairs. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today. Well, of course, you heard about the impressions lots of people have about Nigeria's outing in COP28, ranging from the delegation to the figures to the essence and it all. So, first, do you actually appreciate why they're raising some of these issues, and are they valid to you?
Oh, yes. Yes, they are valid. Good morning, Nigerians. They are valid. And I mean, it's the responsibility of government to enlighten Nigerians. And I mean, there's been a lot of response to that. And I mean, I'm only here to just add to what my other colleagues have talked about. I mean, it's okay for Nigerians to ask questions as to, you know, the large number and why this large number. I mean, the only problem I would have with that is when, you know, it's asking for not the right reasons. You know, I mean, most of the people who are championing that direction of argument have not actually looked at, you know, the entire project. You know, take a look at the COP28 itself by attendance. You know, is by far the highest.
This
since
time?
1995, yeah. Almost twice that of Egypt. As COP27 in Egypt. If you add the virtual membership and the 97,000, you have over 100. What they had in Egypt was 51,000. Now you have over 100,000. In Glasgow was 37,000, which was the highest as at that time, since it peaked in Paris in COP21 in Paris.
Yeah.
So it is not just Nigeria that has an increased representation. You know, the entire convention itself has that.
So, but much as other countries will do what they do,
yes.
But you know, we will focus on ours here. Those countries, they don't have the same inflationary scenarios that we do have. They don't have the same economic challenges that we do have here, where the government has told us to, look, let's tighten our belts. Subsidy just been removed. People are grappling with trying to strategize. Before you budget for one thing, you go back, the items have just doubled or tripled in some cases because there isn't really any regulation to ensure things are standardized and regulated properly. So our scenario, we'll look to ourselves and see what do we do, not compare ourselves with those other countries because some things may not go right. But in terms of that huge delegation, first, how government handled all of this. Did they not know the amount of people that were going to go for this trip in the first instance? Why did they have to allow those kind of things spiral out of control? Because people expected to say, okay, look, these are the people who are going on this trip for this with the president. Their names will be published so people know to stave off any sort of speculation. Are they thinking about doing things better next time out?
Oh, definitely. In terms of providing more information in a proactive manner, that will be done. But I mean, I can't sit here and tell you that details of those who are going to travel for security reasons, of course. I don't think that's by any chance a good idea.
Yeah, but they publish the people who went from each ministry.
But now, let's get it straight as to. I agree we can't compare ourselves with other countries, you know, but we don't live in isolation. You know, if we're looking clearly, there's a negotiation of global power going on. Every global event is an opportunity to market your brand, the Nigerian brand. And this is why we have who we have as the president of the country. He's the chief marketing officer of this country. You know, I mean, I can easily tell you that I would rather pay more to get more than pay little to get nothing.
Yeah, but
now, no, Trabali, let me explain something. In Egypt, nobody is talking about the abysmal representation of Nigeria. Our president wasn't even there. Berlin is the first COP convention in 1995. The headquarters of what's it called? The headquarters of the UNFCCC is in what's it called? It's in Bonn, Germany. But we had an energy deal with Germany. It means that there is an agenda that the global powers are pushing. we can't fight it. We can't run away from it. But what we can do is take advantage of every opportunity to present, to benefit.
Nobody is saying we shouldn't do that.
Okay.
But what people are asking is, why do you need 400 and something people for a job that less than half of that can do? The countries you're comparing us with, how many of them have epileptic power supply like we do? Why do we need such a huge delegation when we can't even address the basic electricity problems we're facing here?
Now, we have other countries. If you compare, get the figures. Let's start with the 420 that is being paid for by the government, and check the other countries that are being paid for officially by their own countries. Then if you look at the figures, you find out that...
How much did we pay for the 420?
Only 12 countries.
Yeah, how much did we pay for the 420 you spoke about? You said we should look at the figures.
No. I don't have the figures. No, I'm talking about figures in terms of number of representation. I mean, we're looking at cost per delegate, isn't it? So if you look at the number, only 12 countries whose GDP are greater than Nigeria, or about Nigeria's size, it's actually, has lesser representation than Nigeria of the 197 countries out there. Now, the point is, what are the gains so far? The president has just signed with Germany, with Siemens, to fast-track the presidential power initiative as a gain from it. It is clear that in his promise while he was campaigning for this office, he said he wanted to compete with the Eastern region. He wanted to compete with Russia specifically for gas powering the Europe with gas. He signed a deal with Germany. Are you looking at the connection? We have a cultural affiliation with UAE. We have a standing bilateral, diplomatic issue, some sort of, there's a visa ban that is still every opportunity to advance our cause.
Are you telling us here and now?
Is, instead of fixating on the input, let's look at the output.
Now, are you telling us here and now that those figures, 400 and something plus that went with the president to COP, less than that figure cannot do this job?
I wouldn't know what job that needs to be done. I wouldn't know.
But you're telling us the impacts, the essence. So I thought you're doing that's what you're telling us.
Now, this is we are at the point where we have to export our culture. We, as people, we as a nation, need to realize that the more integrated into the global space we are, the better for our economy. We cannot do this sitting in our room.
Yeah, but you don't need 400 and something plus to do that.
Who says not? There are 197. There are 197 countries coming. There are over that figure of NGOs coming. There are over that investment companies. Sectoral investors, whether it's in clean energy or fossil fuels. All of these people are represented there. We are great stakeholders in each of them, irrespective of the direction they decide to move. The global power decide to move. Whether we move to stay with the fossil fuel, or we stay with the clean gas, or with the lower emission, we are a major player in that. So we should be very present at every level. And look at the people who have gone. Business people have, the NGOs, the academicians. Our universities should actually have a very strong representative seeking for intervention from international body in that regard in their research.
Mr. Aide, you made very fantastic submissions here. Deals signed with the different countries and different companies. Talked about exporting our culture, so we should move the whole nation out there now because we want to export our culture, right? But let's put that to one side and you talk about NGOs, you talked about companies that are there. We had a total delegation of over 8,000. Government sponsored over 400.
Or 20.
Let's just say 195 countries are there. Approximately 200 countries. We have 400 people. So that means we can send two. What you're saying is that we send two of our government delegation, two people at least, of our government delegation to each of those countries for negotiations.
No.
Now, hold on. You're talking about you're trying to justify the need to have such a large number.
Yes.
And Children asked the question, is it not possible to have gone with half of that number to achieve all of this? For instance, let's do a quick breakdown. The office of the vice president had a certain number that was apportioned to a number of people from the office of the vice president.
9.
And there was a number from the presidency. Is there a difference between the presidency and the office of the vice president?
All right, now let's get it right that there are agencies that are domiciled with the office of the vice president. You know, there are projects that are domiciled in the office of the vice president. And some of these projects, some of these programs have climate change implications, or there are implications of climate change on them. You know, there are aides of the vice president on this climate change matter. I mean, it's I understand. I understand the need. I understand the need to question what the government spends. It is very essential.
It's not just about the spending. It's also about what is the why. With the question we're asking is, why do we need, justify why we need such a large number to go for something that could have been done with less?
I am telling you that we have done, I just gave you an example. We had signed the Siemens deal. We went to COP, we didn't go to COP27, even though it happened in our backyard in Egypt. We didn't go. Who said if we had gone effectively, we probably would have had this accelerated contract that we've just signed out? Imagine if we had had it signed a year ago.
This is not the first time we've signed the deals with Siemens. And the Siemens has come to visit the president since he took office.
I am saying that there are a lot of connection between us and Germany. There are a lot of connection between Germany and this COP and the whole climate change
so we have
agenda.
To go 400 to Germany just so that we can continue our arrangement, our deals with Germany, right?
I am saying that there is need to explore every single opportunity in every global event to advance our cause.
And we agree.
If it takes that number of people, so be it, until someone proves that it can be done with less. And I'm telling you this because the people who are spearheading this argument are the people who do not even have the basic understanding of local politics, let alone global politics.
Can we focus on the matter here? It's not about people spearheading any argument. We're looking at cost of governance. Let's break it down.
All right.
Cost of governance. All right. We're spending so much on this. For the first time, we have, how many ministers do we have in this government? 48 ministers.
Yeah.
By law, we're supposed to have at least one minister per state. So let's just say that's 36.
Then by law, we're supposed to have another from the region, isn't it?
No problem. So we have 48 ministers.
At least. That's what the law says.
Okay. But we're looking at how do we cut down cost of governance, and the government decides to spend these amount of money sponsoring over 400 people to COP. And you say it is needed because we need to take advantage of every opportunity. Can we justify
the argument that we have to cut down the cost of government isn't entirely valid.
Really?
Yes. If we're looking at the number, if we are looking at the number in its absolute figure, in its absolute state, then you can't make sense. I will work with 100 naira that gives me a 1 million naira result, than work with 10 naira that gives me a 12 naira result.
Can you tell us how much was spent per delegate?
I don't know, but I'm sure information, if it needs to be out. I mean, I've seen calculation of ESTA codes and flights and all of that online. It's there. I mean, I'm sure it can come out.
Okay. Ayo, Buki.
Well, thank you, Chamberlain. Let me just quickly ask you, Mr. Audu, one of the issues that you have raised is, try to defend these numbers. Yesterday we had was it yesterday or the day before yesterday, we had a professor who came in here and we asked him pointedly whether or not Africa, particularly Nigeria, has significantly benefited from the convention of parties meetings over the years. From his own expert angle, we haven't really benefited anything, or at least not as significant as significantly as we should have been. And add that to the fact that a good number of times when these promises are made, that's all we hear. Many Nigerians don't hear any more beyond those promises. So historically and until now and going forward, do you think that even this COP28, even with all of the promises and agreements and everything, do you think we have benefited significantly from these events?
All right. I don't think it is entirely true that we haven't benefited. And if you look at the conversation over the months that our president has been, attending global events, you get the language that he's not there begging for handouts. He's there telling the world that Nigeria is ready to take its place on the table. And when you are there, when you are making such statements, you need to be very, very firm. The benefit we have is we have a president who understands global politics. You see, in any case, promises were made in Egypt, but they were not honored. In the last few global events, and the language of Mr. President and some other African countries, when you look at the beginning of this conference, there were commitments towards honoring the promises that were made in a year ago. I mean, if you look at the figure in terms of those commitments, they were poor, but it is growth nonetheless. You see, we are all against the neocolonialism. And
Mr. Audu, you have kind of answered the question. If you can hear me, Mr. Audu, you have kind of hinted at the response to the question that the promises made in Egypt have not been honored. What's the assurance, despite the vocal, or what we'll say in the streets, audio assurances and audio promises that have been made? What's the definitive assurance that these promises will be kept at this time? And if they're not kept, what's Nigeria going to do?
I mean, after I said what you just said, I equally said that there have been some commitment this year. Poor, but yes, there have been some commitment. And as smart as our president is, he's not waiting for the global or the blanket benefit. He's going for specific benefit. He has accelerated our deal with, there are takeaways, and he does not go into any of such negotiation without taking something out of there. That is what we must take note of. It's going to take a while for us to get our seat the way we want it, but we are in the right direction, and playing small on the global stage isn't going to help us.
Well, Mr. Audu, I wish you would be more specific, particularly specific about, the takeaways and the low-hanging fruits from Mr. President's marketing of Nigeria at COP28. And I ask this because of the feedback that we're getting about the president's presentation, which some have said that the president should apologize to Nigerians over because of his incoherence. So are we misunderstanding the import and the impact of the president's marketing of Nigeria at COP28? Or have we missed an opportunity to really get those low-hanging fruits to tackle issues of climate change back home, i.e. desertification, erosion and all of that?
All right. Let me start from the back. When you mention the certification, erosion, look at from the north to the south, we're dealing with one climate change, issue or the other. That makes us an active player in that conversation globally. Then when you look at what the decision that is being taken, it's about, it's basically, in 2015, we went to France and we signed a deal as to, how we're going to, shoot ourselves in the leg, but there were no commitments as to what we're going to be given to treat that injury or treat that bullet wound. But we signed that nonetheless. And coming forward, we signed deals agreements that should help us in that regard. That there were no strong commitment from the global powers. As an individual, Mr. President has never hidden his position on the whole global climate change agenda. He has continuously maintained his position that we are too poor as a people, nation or continent to be told to jettison our only source of livelihood, while you have not told us what you are going to give us going through the alternatives. The good thing about it is, like, for Nigeria, we are lucky. I mean, we have lithium in commercial quantity. We have gas. Gas is fossil fuel too, but I mean, it has lower emission, a green gas emission, so that's why they are pushing it. So in any case, we are a major player. So we need to be able to see how we can take advantage of whatever they are bringing. We have, on the other side, a number of people who are not so excited about this. We had the position of UAE.
Ali, as we wind down on this one, I mean, there were those who said that the president had, way before this trip, warned government officials and the likes that anyone who have no business traveling to some of these trips shouldn't find themselves there. And there are those who also say, look, this particular trip, there are several people who have no business being on this trip and they were there. And they're waiting to see what will happen. So first of all, is that true that the president gave that warning? And is that true?
I mean, I can't recall, but it sounds like what he will do. It sounds like what Mr. President will do. I mean, I can't say, but I know he can do that, yes.
Okay, so many will be looking to see what happens because they've seen this.
Now, I mean, I am not sure you are looking at the 422 delegates that are paid for by the government.
I'm talking about the 422.
Of the 420 or there.
420 that was paid by the government.
So you think
that's the one I'm talking about.
You think there are people who do not have business being in there of the 420?
You think all of them have business there?
No, I'm asking, is that your opinion?
Because if you look at the list there, if you see the number of people that went from, say, Ministry of e.g. Environment, for instance, and look at all ministries, 187. Okay, what is it that 187 are going to sign that even 50 cannot come back and say, look, if it was about presentation, we presented. This is what came out. These are the takeaways. These are the action points. Come on now. These are not... But tell us now, what do we expect as takeaways? What are the action points? And when will people see results of this visit in this country? Any idea?
Yes. The cement deal, you know, the cement fast-track deal should point us in that direction. And the $500 million deal that earlier signed with Germany, you know, should point us in that direction, because it's simple. But every time there is a global convention, you know, Mr. President goes to, you know, the chancellor and he's like, remember what you said? Remember our deal? I haven't seen anything. He said, okay, let's move forward. That's his person. He's a business negotiator. That is why we voted for him.
All right, we need to go, but I mean, we all know that there are times that the president may not be able to go for a very important trip. He delegates the vice president. So when this is not casting stone, you can't tell me everybody must be. No, they don't all have to.
You see, as much as I agree with you, I would like us to, you know, for the sake of clarity and informing the public, show a breakdown of all the other nations represented, their official and their overflow. I would like us to show to the public the breakdown of the other countries so that we can compare strength to strength, population to population, climate change impact to climate change impact of all the other nations that were at COP28. Check their figures and check our official figures. Then you know that the cry is out of place. It's out of place.
Well, this is the figure that the Ministry of Information released to Nigerians as to taxpayers. We're not paying for those other countries. We're paying for these people. And we have right to ask questions of the people who are spending our money. So that's the bottom line.
And we need to understand that we have trusted a man whose record shows that he can be trusted. You see, we don't have a cost problem. We have a revenue problem.
So,
in terms of cost, what we should be looking at is optimization. You see, optimization does not usually mean cost down. We need to improve the quality and the quantity of output of government spending. That is a better way to look at.
So money is not our problem, but how to spend it.
No, I'm not saying cost problem. I'm not saying money is not our problem.
You say it's a revenue problem.
Revenue is money. If I say we have revenue problems,
we don't have a cost problem.
Cost problem.
So whatever we have, we can spend. We are now begin to how to bring it in.
We are the most diverse nation. Get this right. We are the most diverse nation, and our diversity means that we are going to have to do a lot of processes if we are to ensure inclusion.
All right.
All of this process comes at a cost.
Okay. Aide is the Special Assistant to the President on Public Affairs. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you for having me.
We will be back in a moment. Don't go away.